Hello and welcome. Welcome to this Sunday service of the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. My name is Birch Spick. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs. I'm a member of this congregation's celebrant team, and I'm offering you this morning's service. Heidi Levine is our celebrant this morning. Barb Martin is our song leader, and Bruce Martin is our pianist. Laleen Kierans is reading Our Story for All Ages. Karen Kramer and the UU Singers are providing our special music this morning. For this coming week, Susan Jellinger is our Pastoral Care Associate. Please talk to her if you need some support in the coming week. Let's pause as we begin this service to acknowledge the Indigenous land we occupy, no matter where or how we gather. The building of this congregation stands in the traditional homeland of the Bakoje people, known also as the Iowa, who now live primarily in the states of Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma. It is also in the homeland of the Meskwaki and Sauk peoples who still live in our state. This morning is the last Sunday before Christmas, which in any given year is a time both of joy and trepidation. At this point in the year, we are usually a few weeks deep into a barrage of songs, lights, and displays all about being joyful and merry. Some of us may look forward to this joy in the darkening months. But if you're not feeling holly, jolly, and bright this time of year, you might find yourself feeling like you've been left out in the cold. For that reason, some congregations mark this Sunday by acknowledging the hard and painful realities of life that can get outshined at this time of year. While this observance is important in any given year, 2020 is not any given year. People who are used to celebrating with friends and family might find themselves more lost and alienated this year. People who are already struggling through this time of year might find the added weight of the pandemic and social distancing even harder to bear. For all of the reasons we might encounter this year of all years, this morning we honor the season of the longest night. We acknowledge that pain is as much a part of our lives as human beings as joy is. We acknowledge that our lives are not all merry and bright, and that's okay. With this in mind and in our hearts, let's reflect on these words for the solstice season by Reverend Gary A. Kowalski. Night has its own kind of beauty. Different than the beauty of the day, night is a time of sleep and dreams and inward visions, a time of pause within activity. Darkness is an invitation to imagining and storytelling, and to using ears instead of eyes to listen to the world in its stillness. Darkness is the den of life in germination, and darkness is the portal of death that opens to eternity, the mystery of all time past and endless time to come. At the center of our being, there is light and there is darkness, the known and the unknown, the named and the nameless, the finite and the infinite. Light and dark are different, but not opposed to each other. Like a mother and father, they are friends with one another and with us.
We gather, each of us, on the verge of the longest night with a little flame in our hearts among the twilight, that together the flame of our hearts may warm and bring light to each other. May we welcome the light of this time together. Our gathering hymn this morning is number 307, The Human Touch Can Light the Flame. Barb Martin will lead us in this hymn. In consideration of one another, please mute your mics and sing along at home. The words will be posted in the chat. Good morning. My name is Heidi Levine. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am the celebrant for this morning's service. Whether you are here for the hour, for a lifetime, or somewhere in between, thank you for joining us in this community that grows ethically and spiritually, serves justly, and loves radically. This digital service is being recorded, available on the website and YouTube page. Please feel free to keep your cameras on, but keep your mics muted in consideration of one another. After the service, we'll sort into breakout rooms for a virtual coffee conversation, fellowship, and your favorite snack or drink, and we welcome you to turn your mics back on at that time. Our faith and action partners for this year are Central Iowa Immigrant Support Coalition and Planned Parenthood North Central States. Central Iowa Immigrant Support Coalition is a group of advocacy organizations for immigrants in our areas. And one of their member organizations is a longtime faith and action partner of ours, Elejito. Elejito's mission is to provide programming that builds the leadership potential of Latinx youth across the state through college preparation, career development, civic engagement, family support, and celebration of culture. Our other faith and action partner, Planned Parenthood North Central States, is committed to providing, promoting, and protecting reproductive and sexual health through high-quality care, education, and advocacy.
Thank you, Heidi. Our story for all ages this morning is The Longest Night by Marion Dane Bauer.
I appreciate your call, and I think for now what we can do is continue what I'm doing, and then if I'm having trouble during the week.
Hi everyone, my name is Lily Kearns, and today I will be reading The Longest Night by Marion Dane Bauer. The snow lies deep, the night is long and long. The stars are ice, the moon is frost, and all the world is still. Bears sleep as do the velvet mice. The moon's shadow lies by every tree, thin as a hungry wolf. Shaw whines the wind, the bitter wind. Cold and dark now rule, cold and dark now rule. Gone, calls the crow, the night dark crow. So long the sun's been gone. I saw it sink, I saw it sneak, I saw it creep behind a cloud and go to sleep. But I'm the one, I know how to bring back the sun. I'll fly with my strong wings and reach the clouds. I'll poke with my sharp beak and wake the sun. Not you, sighs the wind, not you. Gone, cries the moose, the mighty moose. No, sun is gone. I saw it slip, I saw it slide. I saw it plunge from the bowl of the sky and disappear behind a hill. But I'm the one, I know how to bring back the sun. I have legs long enough to reach that hill. To climb that hill, I have antlers strong enough to scoop up the sun and bring it home. Not you, sighs the wind, not you. Gone, barks the fox, the clever fox. The sun is too long gone. Someone must search, someone must seek. Someone must find the hole the sun crawled into. I'm the one, I know how to bring back the sun. I have a nose keen enough to sniff out the sun's hiding place, paws quick enough to dig it up, teeth sharp enough to grab the sun and toss it back into the sky. Not you, says the wind, not you. Shashi, shashu. The night is long and long, says the chickadee. The sun is gone and gone. If not crow or moose or fox, then who? Who can bring back the sun? You, says the wind, only you. Me, cries the chickadee. Her, cries the cow and moose and fox. Shashu, answers the wind. Chickadee hears only you. The little bird knows she can't fly all the way to the sun. Her beak isn't strong enough to poke it awake. She can't climb or scoop. She can't sniff or dig or toss the sun into the sky. So she does instead what chickadees do best. She sings a song. Dee, 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 she sings. And dee, and dee, and dee, she sings. And dee again. What kind of noise is that? Cries Crow. Just dee and dee and dee. The sun won't listen to such nonsense, bellows Moose. What can it possibly mean, barks Fox. Just dee, says the chickadee. Only that. Dee, dee, dee. Shashi, says the wind. The star melts away. Then another. A star melts away. Then another. The frosty moon pauses. Snagging in the branches of a tree, the world holds its breath, waiting. Dee, 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 says the chickadee, and again, dee and dee. Slowly, slowly, the sun opens his eyes. He stretches, he tilts his head, listening. Who sings in the cold and dark, he asks. Who indeed, whispers the wind. Shashi, shashu. Dee, 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 says the chickadee. And the sun smiles. Fingers of light peel back the blanket of darkness. Fingers of light grasp at the edge of the world, and slowly, slowly, the sun lifts himself into the sky. Thank you, sun, sings the chickadee. Thank you, sun, echoes the world. And with the song of one small bird, the sun's answering smile, the journey towards spring begins.
Our pledges and donations support the work of this congregation in nurturing our lives, and our Sunday donations support the work of nurturing our values. So in this offering, let us be grateful for all that we have and all that we can give. Half of the offering we give today goes to our congregation's social justice work, and half will be split with our faith and action partners to support their work in our communities. While we're outside of our physical church, instead of passing the offering basket, we encourage you to use the giving page on the church's website or mobile app. You'll find the link posted in the chat. Our first reading is A Litany for Blue Christmas by Deborah Falk. In person, this reading is meant to be a responsorial, with the congregation sharing a response at the end of each part of this reading. As you listen to this reading, and if you're moved wherever you're watching, when you hear "this season brings forth many feelings," respond with, "We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together."
All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. There is grief with the loss of relationships, those we love no longer with us because of death, those we have loved who are estranged from us, those we love yet experience a diminishment of intimacy, There is grief with the loss and change of relationship. Grief, bittersweet, for it is a consequence of the presence of love. This season brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find peace being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. There may be pain in our bodies, physical pain as a natural outcome of aging, physical pain that presents itself in illness, pain in the body that forces us to change and imposes limitations, pain, bittersweet for physical experience includes both pain and pleasure, and this season brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings, and we find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. There may be anger and regret with the memories we hold. Anger with past experiences of hurt or abuse. Regret of our own actions that may have caused hurt to others. Anger that life has not turned out as we imagined. Regret for what we might have said or done. Anger and regret, bittersweet in presenting the possibility for healing and forgiveness. And this season brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart not all is joyful. There may be uncertainty that accompanies transition and change, uncertainty of what the future may bring with changes, uncertainty of direction or purpose after retirement or change in vocation, uncertainty when changing residence by choice or necessity, uncertainty, bittersweet for change, a constant in life, lets us know we are alive, and change, along with this season, brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. There may be a sense of hopelessness. Hopelessness in the face of so much violence and suffering. Hopelessness with attempts to heal our aching world and ourselves. Hopelessness in witnessing what we have not managed to accomplish. Hopelessness, bittersweet, for its longing reminds us of our capacity for hope and the human spirit's tenacity and courage that rest deep within each of us as this season brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights, merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. There is loneliness. Loneliness when we find ourselves alone after being long partnered. Loneliness when we are separated from our loved ones. Loneliness when we move to a new community and struggle to find our way. Loneliness that never seems filled even with good company. Loneliness that is an ever-present aching in the heart. Loneliness, bittersweet, for it is felt only when we have known connectedness, and this season brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful.
We know grief and pain. We know anger and regret. We know hopelessness and loneliness. We know all these feelings. We name them. We live them, for such is the human experience. That love presents us with the possibility of being hurt, with the grief of loss. That connection holds the potential of loneliness and uncertainty. That forgiveness can begin to heal anger and regret. That being alive is a courageous act in which we engage all of our emotions. And this season brings forth many feelings.
We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. Our special music this morning is In the Bleak Midwinter, presented by Karen Kramer and our choir, the UU Singers. In this congregation made distant by space, but connected by care for one another, we gather each Sunday to tend to one another's joys and concerns, to minister to each other however that may need to look like. When we are together in person, we lift up the names of those people we hold in our minds and hearts, aloud or silently. If you are carrying someone in joy or in concern this morning, you may share that in the chat box. On December 17th, Jesse Johnston Sheehan left this world at about 4 p.m. after a battle with glioblastoma. Jesse was a newer member at First Unitarian and joined in 2019.
It's fun. The term that has come to mind for
She continued attending through Zoom even as she got sick.
oh yeah, justify the means.
May we hold her family and beloved friends in our hearts. Let our hearts also be with all those near and far, with people the world over who are in need of care and who care for their communities. For people who work to meet the needs of their communities. For those continuing to speak out against injustice. For frontline workers in healthcare and service industries. For families and communities grieving the loss of loved ones. May we bear witness to atrocities that flash before our eyes in quick succession. May we bear witness to the struggles to overcome, which we have not yet seen. When we gather together in our congregation's building, it is our tradition to light 3 candles. One for the joys and concerns we have shared, one for the names we have raised up, and one for all that remains unspoken, but present in our hearts. Outside of our building, gathered here together, we take a moment to honor these joys and sorrows.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul.
The first time I went to General Assembly, I was struck by one seat in a room of maybe a couple thousand seats. It was a plain, wing-backed armchair set up on the main stage of the auditorium, and it was there for the whole week. No one ever sat in it, but it was always full. In the service for the Living Tradition on Thursday night, the leader of the service explained the purpose of the empty chair. It stood there empty so we could pause and remember the people who could not be there with us. Like any chair, it is a resting place. Like no other chair, it is a resting place for the people and the memories that we carry with us, whether we pay attention to them or not. It is a symbol we can use to draw our awareness toward things that are always present with us, even when we are not mindful of them. In that spirit, I invite you into this time of meditation, thought, or prayer. Settle into wherever you are. Take a deep breath in. Feel your feet resting on the ground. Feel your legs and back resting on the seat beneath you. Feel your shoulders, neck, your jaw relax. Take another deep breath in and let it out. Let us begin with a meditation on this chair. It is low to the ground, wide, sturdy. Notice the light on its fabric, Notice the shadows in its creases, neither too soft nor too hard, just right. Look at this chair. Look at the support and the comfort it brings. Rest your weariness on it. Whatever heavy thing you are carrying with you, rest here and feel it grow lighter. Continue to relax. This chair is a resting place for the things we carry with us, whether we pay attention to them or not. As you rest, what are the heavy things you are carrying with you? What pain, grief, loneliness, anger? What heavy things have you been avoiding? Lay them out on the chair with you. Sit with them. What are the nurturing things that you are carrying with you? What comfort, insight, grace, generosity? Lay them out on the chair with you. Lay them among the heavy things. Lay them side by side, looking at them. Sit with them. Bring them into the comfort you found in this place, at this empty seat. Bring your loved ones, your beloved memories into the comfort of this resting place. Bring them into the view of your awareness. And in resting here, this chair is no longer empty. This chair is full of all kinds of feelings and experiences, full of all of the things we carry with us. Feel your resolve to go on, come back to you. Take a deep breath in and let it back out. Feel your jaw, your neck, your shoulders. Feel the seat supporting your back and legs. Feel the ground supporting your feet. Feel the breath filling your lungs as you breathe in and breathe out.
Our second reading this morning is The Blessing for the Longest Night by Jan Richardson. All throughout these months, as the shadows have lengthened, this blessing has been gathering itself, making ready, preparing for this night. It has practiced walking in the dark, traveling with its eyes closed, feeling its way by memory, by touch, by the pull of the moon, even as it wanes. So believe me when I tell you this blessing will reach you, even if you have not light enough to read it. It will find you, even though you cannot see it coming. You will know the moment of its arriving by the release of the breath you have held so long, a loosening of the clenching in your hands, of the clutch around your heart, a thinning of the darkness that had drawn itself around you. This blessing does not mean to take the night away, but it knows its hidden roads, knows the resting spots along the path, knows what it means to travel in the company of a friend. So when this blessing comes, take its hand, get up, set out on the road you cannot see. This is the night when you can trust that any direction you go, you will be walking toward the dawn. Keeping your mics muted, please join in our centering hymn, number 55, Dark of Winter.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
Last year, on the Monday night before Christmas, we gathered in the back of the congregation's auditorium to honor and pay attention to the difficult mixture of feelings this time of year can bring. We gathered in a circle to be with one another. We brought mementos of the loved ones we were missing. We lit candles for the people in our minds and hearts. We spent time together to recognize in an intentional way that grief and pain persist even when the world is full of bright lights and merry messages. This is the purpose of a longest night service, to recognize the juxtaposition of multiple feelings that can exist alongside and overlapping each other. To recognize, sit with, and unpack these experiences is the purpose behind offering this service. In it, I hope you will find some peace with whatever feelings you have running against the prevailing messages around us. This congregation's grief support circle chose to open up their meeting that night to the wider congregation and community. They offered a Blue Christmas service for the people who are grieving and struggling this time of year. It was the first time I had heard of a longest night service, often also called Blue Christmas. And I think it was the first time this congregation had hosted an observance like this. For that, I want to particularly thank Sally Buckholt and Suzanne Popson for their vision in creating this service and for the opportunity to help them offer it. In the words of Reverend Melanie Carroll, a Blue Christmas service is somewhere to come if, despite all the decorations, the cards, the music playing in the shops, the concerts and parties, and the advertisers who want you to believe that you can buy wonderful, you still don't really feel very much like celebrating. Somewhere to come if the idea of a merry little Christmas is all you need for your troubles to be miles away has a decidedly hollow ring to it. This sort of observance is called one of two things, both held around the same time. As the longest night, it refers to and may be held on the winter solstice, when the nights are longest and darkest, and the northern hemisphere is about to tilt back into the light of summer. When called Blue Christmas, as it is by congregations in many Protestant traditions, it's held on the last Sunday of Advent, right before Christmas. Regardless of the day, regardless of the name, both these observances serve to encounter a paradox, that grief and pain can still be a part of our lives, even in the midst of cheerful holidays. If Christmas is a meaningful holiday for you or your loved ones, or even for the people in your community or country, you might feel a kind of obligation to be happy during this time of year, no matter what is actually going on in your life. While some people might embrace the season as a wanted relief or distraction from heavier feelings, this is by no means a universal experience. For this reason, making time to take stock of our emotions and experiences can be important. Beneath the face of it, there are all kinds of reasons this time of year can be difficult. We could already be grieving loss. We could be distant from the people or places we love. When this season arrives, we may be confronted with the fact that we can't celebrate with the people whose company we cherish. We may be held apart from our loved ones by death, illness, or separation. In 2014, the National Alliance for Mental Illness, known as NAMI, published a study that reported 64% of people surveyed who already experienced mental illness said that the winter holiday season worsened their conditions to some degree. In a related article, an editor for NAMI wrote that these feelings can be exacerbated by stressors many of which are experienced in this season alone. Many of us wish or feel obligated to host holiday parties whilst being cajoled into attending those of family, friends, and acquaintances. Decorations are beautiful, but somebody has to put them up. Not to be forgotten are visits with family members who are only seen once or twice a year, and fighting the crowds to find that perfect gift, all of which is compressed into a 4 to 6 week block of time. As Melanie Carroll writes, we can feel edged out and forgotten as everyone else seems caught up in the mad frenzy of their own preparations and celebrations. We can feel doubly wrong for even entertaining the fact that we're not as merry and bright as everyone else. In a season of pronounced displays of joy, it can be all too easy to compare our own lives to everybody else's display. Caught in this comparison, we can easily be led to doubt or ignore our own experiences. And while we can feel any of these sources of disconnect in any given year, December 2020 offers fresh sources of pain and discomfort. Those of us who are used to celebrating with friends and family cannot do so in the ways that we like. We may be missing out on cherished traditions. We may be deprived of the connection that usually helps us through grief, pain, or loneliness. Or yet, we may be faced with the incongruity of watching people celebrate, travel, and gather together despite a global pandemic. We may face doubt that we are even doing the right thing by staying home, or that our consideration for our own and others' well-being even matters. Wrapped up in a conflict between expectation and reality, we can easily feel ungrounded. And in this year, among all other years, we can easily feel isolated. The purpose then of honoring the longest night or Blue Christmas is to be present with the emotions we might otherwise brush aside or feel coerced to cover up. It is a time to do this not in isolation, but together in recognizing that we are never alone in these feelings. It is the opportunity to ask for care during an especially hard season. It is the opportunity to care for one another. Together, we can observe the simultaneity embedded in this season and in life generally. On the one hand, pain can and does exist alongside joy and merriment. There is a complicated reality that underlies all of this, that we can and do feel joy and grief at the same time during this season. On the other hand, pain, grief, and all other feelings are both incredibly present and also impermanent. To recognize that they are present is to pay attention to the way our feelings of sorrow impact our lives, to become mindful of their sources, effects, and consequences. To recognize that they are impermanent is to be mindful that these share a quality with all existence. That like all other things, they emerge, subside, and transform. In honoring the longest night, we honor this presence and impermanence together. On the eve of the winter solstice, we become present with the fact that this is the darkest night of our year, but also that it eventually tilts back into sunlight and summer. We acknowledge that we are not alone in our experiences and don't have to be. As we move from the time of this service into the rest of our lives, how will we ask for the care we need? How will we be present with the contents of our experiences, no matter how incongruent? Maybe this looks like asking for support or asking for space and understanding. Maybe it looks like reaching out to one of our pastoral care associates for the first time. Maybe this looks like attending one of the grief support circles gatherings. And how will we be attentive to care for other people in our community? Maybe you are already doing this. Maybe you are a part of our call tree, checking in with friends and members of the congregation. Maybe you're keeping in touch with the people you talk to in coffee hour, sat next to in service, attended classes or small groups with. Maybe you will be moved in the coming days and weeks to take this up, to take up this practice. All of these practices are vital to the health of our community and may be doubly important during this season. The contents of our lives are often filled with contradiction and incongruity. Some seasons make this more apparent, but we don't have to sit alone with this realization. If this season has been a long one for you, may you find some comfort here and in the care of your community. If you have care you can extend to others, may you do so generously. Despite physical distance, we can still be present with one another and our experiences. May we find peace and bring peace in recognition of this.
To the light of this space, we say farewell, but we carry the greater light kindled by our care for each other out into our lives together. For now, the days are lengthening. May our own lights also grow brighter. We close this morning's service with hymn number 226, People Look East.
People look east, the time is near of the crowning of the year. Make your home fair as you are able. Trim the hearth and set the table. People look east and sing today. Love, the guest is on the way. Furrows be glad, the earth is he bare, one more seed is planted there. Give up your strength, the seed to nourish, that in course the flower may flourish. People look east and sing today. Love, the rose is on the way. Stars keep the watch when night is dim. One more light the bowl shall brim, shining beyond the frosty weather, bright as sun and moon together. People look east and sing today. Love, the star is on the way.
Our closing words are by Reverend Leslie Takahashi. Peace is a quality of heart and a decision of presence. Peace comes with mindfulness to what is rather than what might be or what could befall. Peace and the inner landscape of acceptance are bordered by possibility. May the nurturing darkness of this season remind my heart of all the desires in its deepest recesses. May I take time to appreciate the quiet and peace and to hold these losses before turning my spirit towards renewal and aspiration. May this longest night point to the largest commitments, and may its deepest darkness remind me of my most rooted commitments. And when it is time, may all of these ruminations be brought to light. This service has ended, but our service to one another and the wider community continues. Peace, amen, and may it be so. All right, I am going to sort us out into breakout rooms. I'm going to stay here in the main room if you want to chat about the service or say hi. When you'll get a message that says you've been assigned to so-and-so breakout room. If you want to join it, click join now. If you'd like to stay here, click join later.